It's a couple teams here. I think Winnipeg's in there. I think Colorado's in there. You know, it's interesting about Colorado. I was talking to someone about them, and like there's all this noise around Natchez now, all of a sudden. And someone said to me, if you look at Colorado's situation, depending on what happens with Drouin, and that's, I'm not really sure what is going to happen there. They really only have one or two players to sign. They don't have a lot of cap room, but they've got to sign Sam Malinsky, who's a very solid young defenseman.
Yes.
But other than that, they don't have a lot of business they necessarily have to do. So, you know, I know people are looking at their roster and saying they got to clear space. They got to clear space. I don't know that Colorado feels that way. I think they kind of look at it like, you know, there's a lot of rumors about Charlie Coyle. It sounds to me that's a lot of teams looking at Colorado's roster and saying, well, they have to do something. I could see the Avalanche just saying, nah, like we're good like this. Never have too many centers. The one thing I've heard, like they traded for Lindgren, who's probably going to go to market. I've heard they wouldn't mind another defenseman with a bit of jam or edge to them. But I've heard they don't necessarily, just because other people may look at them and say, oh, they too tight to the cap, they got to make a move. I'm not convinced they think that.
No, well, especially how they started last year with all the injuries.
Yeah.
And now teams are going to try to tell them, look, well, you can't go into the season with all those players. Yeah, no, we'll take that over the alternative. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Again, it's always one of those situations where I could be proven to be wrong, but I don't think Colorado's convinced they have to do anything. They like how this looks on paper. One of the other teams I suspect on Taves, Lightning.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
But I'm pro Winnipeg on this one. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, any of the three you mentioned would be a great story.
Yeah, but there's some romance about the Jets.
Sure, I know you're a romantic man.
I'm an old romantic guy now, eh?
Right, especially at this hour.
Give me the Notebook and some popcorn. I'm happy.
Oh boy. Rachel McAdams always finds a way to your heart.
That's right. And you say that like it's a bad thing or wrong.
Oh gosh, no! Are you kidding me? Only right.
Oh, and you know, before we go to Pittsburgh here and we talk about the sale, I should say, like I mentioned Tavares before, I could see Anaheim potentially being interested. I still think there's time here now. Look, it's June 13th, right? It's Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
There's time here.
With Toronto.
I still think they could do a Tanev style deal with him here. I don't think that's impossible. Let me explain something to everyone here. We did a bunch of this podcast today early, and we did a bunch of it late. It's a bit of the Frankenstein monster pod. Dom has to piece it together. It is 2:07 a.m. Friday, June 13th. Let me just say thank you to my father-to-be co-worker, Kyle Bukauskas, for staying up late, and my producer, father, possibly, nobody really knows, Dom, for... It's the West Coast, Dom. It's only 11:07. But still, just want to say I appreciate both your efforts.
I smell a future Thoughtline submission. Dom's estranged son.
I wonder if it'll be in an anonymous voice.
Yes. Anything is possible at this point, gentlemen. Anything is possible.
All right, let's get to Pittsburgh.
Okay, Pittsburgh, Elliotte. Could they be for sale again? Fenway Sports Group bought them just back in 2021, 4 years ago, but the reports out there that the old ownership group, Ron Burkle, Mario Lemieux, David Morehouse too, right? Could they be looking at reacquiring the franchise? What are you hearing there?
Pierre LeBrun was the one who came up with this on Wednesday. I have a couple of different thoughts about it. Number one, Fenway Sports has indicated, and apparently they did it again on Thursday, saying that there's only a minority share of the team available. I'll say this. The hockey business world, as it is skeptical. They think this began as a minority share sale, but let's just put it this way. They wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being a bigger or full scale. So the best answer is, let's see where this goes. Not everybody believes here that only a minority share is available. It might have started that way. We'll see how it ends.
Do you have a thought then of maybe how we got to this place, Elliotte, only 4 years later? Like, I mean, gosh, owning a sports franchise is, in most cases, pretty good business nowadays. Now, I know Fenway, they would be ones that, I mean, they've got some big entities that they've got under their umbrella. But how do you think we're at this point, only 4 years after they initially bought them?
One of the theories out there is that they have another purchase in mind.
There's always a bigger fish.
Yes, there's always a bigger fish. And that's one of the theories out there. Again, we'll see. On Lemieux, Burkle, and Morehouse, I believe what Pierre said is true. Pierre, I don't think you're a liar. I believe what he said is true. I think they have looked into it, or I don't even know what the proper word is. Have they met with them? Have they made an offer? Have they looked into it is the best way to put it. The Tampa Bay Lightning just sold for $1.8 billion. You have to think if they're going to be selling the Penguins, and there was some land that made the Lightning very valuable, it's going to be around that number. I don't necessarily think it's going to be more than that number, but I think it's going to be around that number. So let's just say 1.7. So they sold the team, depending on, I think the published number was 900. Sold the team for 900, buy it back for 1.7. That's not what they teach you at the Ivy School of Business at Western. It's a big purchase. I don't know. All I heard in the aftermath was they've looked into it, but they wouldn't be called the favorites.